So John has just told us, don't love the world or the things in the world, because otherwise God's love can't be in us. Now he's going to explain more about why that matters and what to do about it. Because everything in the world, notice how that's constructed. First of all, we have in the world, then we have a definite article together with the prepositional phrase. So it's the in the world thing, because it's neuter. When you put a pon in front, that's that word pasa, feminine, pon, pasa, pon means all or every. So everything would be a singular article. You could do it plural, it would mean the same thing. All the things. It's the same as in English. If I said every city, now I've used a singular noun, or I could say all cities, now I've used a plural noun, but I still would be saying the same thing. Every city in California should take precautions. All cities in California should take precautions. It means exactly the same thing. So he's done it this time with the singular, but it still means everybody, so or everything. Everything in the world, because everything in the world, now we're going to have them spelled out. These are the things in the world. There's one of them, Kai. There's the next one, Kai. There's the next one. So we'll take a look at these three things. 1, 2, 3. So all the things that are in the world, everything in the world, not is out of the Father, but instead is out of the world. So the idea here is where's this originating? Is this the stuff that God provides and promotes, or is this what the world provides and promotes? So John is going to say there's a reason why we're supposed to not love the worldliness of the world, the worldly things, because it's not coming from God, it's coming from the world. So these are set over against each other. So what are the three things? Everything in the world. The first thing is the epithumia of the flesh, the desire of the flesh. So again, we have a challenge here. Is the flesh the thing that someone desires, or is it the desiring thing? Is it the thing that the flesh desires, or is it the flesh that I desire? So if we're thinking of this maybe in sexual terms, a desire for the flesh in the Bible often referring to sinful behavior, sinful motivations, etc., etc. If I am desiring it, then the desire of the flesh would be like a desire of chocolate would be me desiring chocolate. But flesh is also an active power. It's one of the tools of the world, the flesh and the devil, one of the ways in which evil expresses itself. And so the flesh is doing the desiring. And then it could be anything. They're not desiring flesh, they're desiring whatever, pride for that matter. So the desire of the flesh could either be the desire for this or the desiring that's being done by this. And we're going to learn more about this in Greek 3 when we talk about objective genitive and subjective genitive. The next one is the epithumia, again, the desire of the eyes. So again, this one I think is clearer. Is it that which the eyes desire, or the eyes the things being desired? Like theoretically, you could be gazing into someone's eyes and experiencing lust, and so it's your desire for the eyes, but it's far more likely that it's the other way around. It's your eyes are doing the desiring, and therefore that's coming from the world. The world provides us with false or inappropriate things that we focus on with our eyes. So in this case, I'm pretty sure that this active noun is being done by the eyes, not directed towards the eyes. This one's less obvious. This one could go either way. And then here, and the pride of life. So here it's more likely that the arrow goes this way. I am proud of my life. I'm proud of the stuff that I've done with my life. So it's human pride. It's not that the life is acting proudly, it's that you're acting proudly in relation to your life. So maybe that was a bit complex. Let me give you a much simpler example. If I say the preaching of Paul, you would normally suppose that this is what somebody is doing. This is telling you who's doing it. So the preaching of Paul is Paul doing the preaching. But if I change this to the preaching of the cross, you would now suppose that somebody is preaching, but this isn't who's doing it. This is the topic that they're talking about. So they're preaching the cross. This is the object and not the doer of the action. So anytime you have an active noun, you can follow it up with an of, and two very good possibilities are that this is what the object is directed to, or what the noun is directed towards, or else who's doing the action. Now, normally nouns don't have subjects and objects, obviously, but the noun implies some kind of an activity. So preaching implies somebody's doing the preaching. So they're preaching this, or this person is preaching. The arrow goes one way or the other. Here could be the lusting after flesh, or it could be the flesh doing the lusting. Not quite sure. This one, theoretically, it could be lusting after someone's eyes, but much more likely it's eyes are doing the lusting. This one, it's life is being proud of something, but more likely you're being proud of your life. So again, that's the grammar part of this, subjective and objective genitives. But the point is, there's lots of ways to be distracted by the things that belong to this fallen world. It could be fleshly desires. In fact, that's even yet another possibility, is that this is just, it functions as if it was an adjective, fleshly desires. Or it could be envy of someone who has more, or jealousy, or you see something and you are aiming for the wrong things because your eyes captures your attention, or you're proud of life's achievements. All of these things don't come from God. They come out of the world. So not from the Father, but from the world. And the world is passing away. So before we said the darkness is already passing away. That's a good thing. The world is already passing away. And again, this doesn't necessarily mean that humans are passing away, although of course we all do. It doesn't mean that the planet is fading away. It means the worldly desires, the worldliness of the world, the evil belonging to the world is on its way out. God's victory is coming. So the darkness is already shining. The light is already shining. The darkness is already passing away. The world is already passing away. And its desires, the desire of it. So again, the things that we desire in it, or it's desiring for other things. And this one again works kind of both ways. But this person, hapoion, the doing person, again, substantival participle, the one doing the will, topholema, of God remains. So we usually translate that forever. But forever, even though it is forever, I'm not denying that it is eternal, but that's a Greek expression. Greek talks about infinity, infinitely long time. The Hebrew expression is into the age. That's what this is literally. Remains into the age. The point being, there's this age, there's the age to come. Here is the day of judgment and salvation. This is where people either do or don't make it into the age to come. And so the world is passing away. By the time the day of judgment comes, this world as we now know it ends. But the people who do God's will last into the age. They'll make it into the coming age. On the one hand, we're already in the coming age because it's already and not yet, but this is now the final entry into God's eternal kingdom. So it's not that it isn't forever, it's just the expression isn't an expression of its length, it's an expression of what sort of an era we enter when we make it into the age to come. Children, vocative, it is one of these, eschate hora. It is an eschatological hour. That's the English word we get from eschate. It's a last hour. You could say it's the last hour, but there's no definite article, and so you have to be cautious. John isn't saying we now know that this is the very last hour in the history of the world, because if he said that, he'd be wrong, unless the 1 hour lasts forever, or for thousands of years. I think he's deliberately using an indefinite noun there. There are the last days, many of them. Therefore, there are the last hours, many of them. This is one of them. We already know that it's one of the end time realities, is John's point, because the world is already passing away. So it is the last hour, and just as, kathos, you heard, aorist of akouo, that there is an Antichrist coming, or more literally, an Antichrist is coming. Now again, this word is coming really means will come. You heard that it was going to happen. You heard that he's coming. Now he's going to make the point. Actually, he's already coming, or at least some of them are. So, and just as you heard that an Antichrist is coming, even now, or now also, many Antichrists have, we're going to say have come, but let me talk about that in just a minute. Okay? So, first of all, they are aware that the final day of the Lord, the final judgment and salvation, the time when this age gives way fully to the age to come, somewhere in relation to that, there's going to be an Antichrist. And John is saying, guess what? There's already lots of them. So I don't know if he's denying that there's going to be one particular, clearly different from all the others, a final Antichrist, or whether he's just saying, you heard it was going to happen? Guess what? It's happening all over the place already. So he may be saying the final one is just around the corner because there are already a whole bunch. Or maybe he's just saying, don't wait for a final one. There's already enough of them. And again, it's not quite clear which he's doing. So you heard that there would be one, and there's lots already. So let's look at the verb. This is from ginomai. Usually means to become. I've proposed that sometimes we do well to say happen, at least as our initial bad English translation, and then we can say, now what would that actually mean, and how would we say that best in English? So many antichrists have happened along already, have shown up, have appeared, have entered the stage, or something like that. This is the perfect. You can see the reduplication. It's a second perfect, so there's just the A and not the K-A. And again, you can confirm that on your principal parts. This is the perfect of, third person plural perfect of ginomai. When you look at your principal parts, of course, you're never going to see the third person plural. You're going to see gegona, and then you have to be able to supply the third person plural ending. So many antichrists are already happening along, are already showing up. From which, I'll explain that in a minute, from which we know that eschate hora est, that it is a last hour, or maybe it is the last hour, or the end times have arrived. According to the New Testament, it's the end times, at least since Pentecost. In Acts 2, Peter says, this is what Joel promised. In the last days, I will pour out my spirit. And we get that again in Hebrews at the beginning, and we get it multiple times in 1 John. So where does this come from? So this is a relative pronoun, that which, or which, neuter, nominative, singular, or actually could be accusative as well. And this is an expression, it's like a particle. You can add that to a word to mean from there. So if this means which, then adding this means from which. from which we know, or that's the basis on which we know. You can put this expression at the end of a place name, like Jerusalem, Jerusalem. If you put the word fen after it, it's Jerusalema fen. It would be from Jerusalem. So this is from which we know that it is a last hour. Okay, that takes us to the end of verse 18.